local area talent will perform live. Current events are remotely videotaped to bring you visual presentations right into the comfort of your own living room. And now, here's tonight's host.
You'd mentioned having dental work a few weeks ago, had you not?
I had.
You know what time it is, of course, when you have to visit the dentist, don't you?
No, I don't.
Why, tooth hurty, of course. Good evening and welcome to Newton Weekly Review. In response to the massive amount of protest we've had recently over the off-color humor, largely incorporated by myself here on the show, we have in fact hired several of the writers formerly with Hee Haw, which is now off the air. And we hope to revamp and have a much more mature type of humor, such as what you just witnessed. Good evening. It is Wednesday evening here in Newton and many other parts of the globe. And I'm joined as always by Lisa. Good evening, Lisa. How are you? So it's nice to see you.
Good evening. Nice to see you as always.
And there was, of course, a serious news item this week. I hate to be immediately a downer, but there was a rather serious series of explosions, and we'll be, without further ado, actually, why don't we get right to the news, because we also are joined tonight by a couple of gentlemen who bill themselves as parts of 21st century art, and they will be out to explain that very shortly. But first, as always, Lisa with the news.
Okay, thanks. Experts are still puzzled about what caused the enormous explosion at H.C. Stark chemical plant Monday night. The plant is located on Charlemont Street. Firefighters were called to the scene following a small explosion in a room where controlled chemical reactions are done. While in the building, an unexpected second explosion shocked and scorched the 13 firefighters. Their protective clothing was soaked with excessive hot sodium. 9 of the firefighters were hospitalized. 2 of them, Lieutenant Raymond McNamara of Watertown and Lieutenant Edward Bagley of Newton, are listed with critical condition with third-degree burns covering most of their bodies. Firefighter Kenneth Nielsen was in fair condition and 6 others are in stable condition. Investigators are saying there is no evidence of negligence. Both state and federal government agencies have been sent in to investigate the cause of the explosion. Mayor Mann has set up a fund to help the firefighters and their families. Donations can be sent to Newton Firefighters Fund, care of Baybank, 808 Beacon Street, Newton, 02159. Also, anyone who is willing to donate blood, please go to the emergency room at Mass General Hospital between 8:30 and 6 p.m. daily. Tell them you're there for the Newton firefighters and parking will be free. By next week, we'll know who our mayor will be for the next 4 years. We also will have chosen a new school committee and new aldermen. On November 2nd, voters will go to the polls to decide who they want in office and will end the races that were begun in May. Susan Shore is still determined and is working overtime in her challenge of current Mayor Mann. She criticizes his work with trade unions, city employees, and a decline in occupancy of retail space. Mann defends his past work. He cites Newton's AAA bond rating, his success with passing budgets, and he says the city has a 98% occupancy rate in its retail space. Not all the seats on the school committee are contested, but those that are will be filled on November 2nd. Still a hot issue is the extent to which Newton schools should teach sexual education. And of course, the Board of Aldermen will look different on the night of November 2nd once all the votes have been cast and counted. By now it's old news, but why not draw attention to it once again? Newton Corner resident Philip Sharp was a recipient of this year's Nobel Prize in Medicine. Sharp and Richard Roberts of Wenham were both awarded the prize for their independent contributions to revolutionizing the understanding of DNA. Their work was done 16 years ago. Sharp currently is the head of the biology department of the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and now it's off to Sweden to pick up the prize. And some quick updates. State lawmakers passed a bill last week that creates fines and jail sentences for blocking abortion clinics. Last week, aldermen approved $180,000 to plow more than 50 miles of city sidewalks after snowstorms. This is the beginning of reversing the ordinance that requires Newton residents to remove snow from their sidewalks within 24 hours or to suffer a fine of $25. The city owns the sidewalks, not the residents. And residents are invited to take a family outing to Newton's Hemlock Gorge this weekend. Local park rangers will conduct tours of the highlights of the 25 acres, which include Indian Cave, Echo Bridge, the Evergreens, and the banks of the Charles River. The The talk is geared towards parents and kids ages 6 to 10. The tour will take place on this Saturday, October 30th at 10 a.m. from the bulletin board at Hemlock Gorge. It is $3 per person or $10 per family. That's that.
Thank you very much. And I think that's a very important point. If you can, please give blood, and it's Mass General?
Yeah, Mass General, the emergency room.
A lot of people have some misunderstandings too, I think, about with AIDS and other diseases, but there's so much misinformation that people are almost frightened if they are healthy or whatever in terms of giving blood. But that is something you should do, and particularly now with a local angle on that, so please do that if you can. We interrupt the show for a special broadcast that has just come in, and we'd like to go to that roll-in if we could now. Usually asking them to go to a roll-in. Wasn't just the Black Pit of Dr. M. That was also musical accompaniment, and the editing that was done on that piece was done by our next guests. Please welcome Frank Coleman and John
Chmaj.
Chmaj.
John Chmaj.
I knew
yes.
that.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Two members of 21st Century Art, and I guess, of course, the first question is, please clarify for our viewers a little bit about what exactly that is.
Well, that
what you are and what they saw.
Right, right. Well, 21st Century Art, I guess I should start by saying a little bit about what we are. I'm the CEO, that's Chief Eccentric Officer of 21st Century Art, and it is an attempt to create a new type of entity. It's a sort of a mutation between a software development company, an artist cooperative, and a multimedia performing group. It bears some resemblance to a rock band. Sure. But it's equal parts, all of those three things. It's not any one of those things to the exclusion of any of the others. So, and that was actually, that piece was one of the first, in fact, that was actually the first piece of musical content that we ever did as a group. In fact, we actually improvised the entire thing live to multi-track digital audio tape. And actually, most of the members of the group had never played together before. Some of them had just met 5 minutes before we rolled the tape. And what we decided to do was to improvise a film score on the fly to a cheap Mexican horror film from the 1950s called The Black Pit of Dr. M. So that's exactly what we did. And what you hear there is the first music that we ever made together. Now, we're also, as I was saying, equal parts software developers and a artist co-op. So the membership is somewhat fluid, and we also are basically, if I had to sum it all up into one sort of thing, I would say that we were a new media group. And that comprises, well, it has its tentacles into a lot of different areas at the same time. So, do you want to pick up from?
No. Well, the important thing for the viewers that were just submitted or forced to see Dr. M, subjected to Dr. M, is that we took that film, and that was the actual order of the plot, but we actually pulled out all of the dialogue, and all you get that's left are the weird and odd images that occur in the film. So there's this dream-like quality to it, and we use that as the basis for the improvisation, and we do that in some other realms as well. Our motto is where perception meets technology, and what that means is that unlike some of the other organizations that are out and about nowadays trying to do cutting-edge technology for its own sake, we're looking for ways in which technology can sort of widen the iris of perception, so that there are, you know, if you want virtual reality, go see Wagner. I mean, you know, it's not that you have to have technology to give new perceptive experiences, but technology enables you to try attacking different ways of expressing things, such as a film or any kind of media event in a new and different way. It gives you more power to people like us.
Now, having seen excerpts of Black Pit of Dr. M a couple of times, I must say that it sounded like you guys had been playing. So, but some of the members in your ensemble had not played
Nobody had ever
before
actually,
that day.
well, actually, the only people who had ever played before was a fellow playing lead guitar and myself. I was playing drums. The instrumentation was I was playing drums. There was a lead guitarist. There was a fellow playing lap steel through a mountain of effects. It's that hideously evil sound that sort of lingers in the background.
And
John
you needed it
keyboards.
for that particular
and then a bass player. Now, the criteria for membership in the group, as I initially set it out, was that everybody in the band had to be a band. It's a entity, it's a thing, it's an eggnog, it's a, you know, whatever it is, okay? It's an obelisk.
It's a noun.
It's a noun,
Really?
yes.
For eggnog,
Participle, yeah, well, you know.
It's holiday time.
Okay,
There
so so anyway, the point is that everybody in the group had to be a monster on their instrument, a monster on their computer, and a sick puppy, basically. Okay, so
Are you editing this for television at all?
No,
because,
no. This was the litmus test.
Okay.
For membership in the group, and what the other organizing principle was that I felt, if my hypothesis was, if I picked people that I knew that I could work with individually, theoretically they all ought to be able to work together.
Sure.
And so far my theory has proven wonderfully. Everybody hates each other, and no, everybody gets along famously and like that. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah. But seriously, I think the point is that what makes us somewhat unique is that, aside from being sick, which may be unique or not, is that we are a combination of people that are creative both in a software and in a musical and graphical way.
Everybody in the group is both a very senior person in the computer industry of one sort or another across multiple platforms, and they also have long careers in the arts and entertainment industry. So while it's a new group, everybody in it has a long track record. And these are people who've worked with everybody from U2 to Ryuichi Sakamoto to one of our guys did the video walls at the Clinton inaugural.
Wow.
And so
it wasn't quite like that. The Clinton inaugural was a little more staid.
Yeah.
I believe we showed Dr. Z in that.
That's right. Yes, right. It's a little-known Franco film, yes.
Tell us about the next role. And John, I actually understand that you wrote some of the script. Have I got this right? I know
Well, this stuff coming up is part of a show that we put together called, roughly called Changing Channels. It's the idea that TV has its own sort of aesthetic, and we like to make fun of it. And so what we did is we put together a lot of our own horror footage and some other videos that were more like standard music videos you might know. And in addition, we composed some of our own commercials for products soon to be coming to you. So I believe there's the first one we're going to roll.
Death TV, yes.
Death TV. This is
Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes. Death TV. From 21st Century Art. In your face.
21st Century Art, where perception meets technology. Torture, murder, dismemberment. It's everywhere you want to be. And we take you there. We go where other shows don't have the gall. You are in the passenger seat at a drive-by shooting. You are the drunken conductor at the amusement park. You forgot to lock the cage in shark-infested waters. Experience the thrill of pulling the switch at the big house. Watch as we capture the reactions of grieving relatives as the lights go down. And that's not all. Each week, we exhume the bodies of recently executed criminals and take a closer look. Because that's the way you want it, and you're tough enough to take it. Death TV. Real death. 24 hours a day. One of 500 new channels coming your way on the Info Highway. Brought to you by Mattel.
Death TV.
Death TV.
Boogie,
Coming
boogie,
soon.
boogie, 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 boogie.
Oh, God, stop it.
So
This is
you
how,
gentlemen will exercise demons in the process of some of your work.
Exercise. Yeah, we have a demon exercise program.
Yes,
right? Yes, right.
This is for Halloween here. Can you guys see this? This is the new Halloween
Promise me you wouldn't do this.
flamingo lawn
Frank, did you
ornament.
bring him
with the,
from
Yes, I brought him.
This is great. You can put it right on your lawn.
And it has an Ethernet port in the back, too. It's the thing.
Ethernet cable. It's
Port in
fully
the back.
network compatible. It's not ISDN, unfortunately.
No.
But anyways, I just thought I'd bring it along.
There's a fax modem
Our
option.
Jason Flamingo.
Now,
Put it down, John.
both of you gentlemen work in software. Is that your, if I may use the term, a day job? Is that
Yeah, well,
a day job for both of
it's
you?
interesting. Even though I tried to create
Deja vu.
yeah, right. I tried to create a group for which there was no existing model in this
So we
group.
invented Kodak.
Right. So, but it's interesting that we seem to sort of fall prey to a lot of the same things that any startup or new musical group falls prey to, like bootstrapping and trying to do a lot with a little and trying to find a way out of our day jobs. I'm a senior level software QA engineer for Kodak, and John works at Lotus.
Senior level software engineer for Lotus.
Yeah. So, and most of the other people are gainfully employed, and some just, well, sponge off
Some
the
just
rest of us.
gainfully.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
I should talk a little bit more about the show, just to put Death TV in context, so
Sure.
it makes sense also with Dr. M and with some of the other stuff. We did a show in August. It was our first live performance, and it was called, as John said, Changing Channels. And the idea was we cut up our set list into 3 parts and sort of went around in a round-robin fashion in order to simulate channel surfing. In the first part of the show, there was the group proper. There was basically all the various different members, and we were improvising film scores, including Dr. M and some other stuff that we had done, including computer graphics, fractals, all kinds of different stuff, a whole stew. And then there was an annex part of the stage where I had all my keyboards and everything set up, and I did some of my solo pieces, which are actual songs that I've written and I sing. And what we did for that was we had a videotape that we had prepared ahead of time with various different computer graphics and found footage and stuff like that. And I had striped the tape with SMPTE timecode, which is a bit of a technical term, but basically, I'm in negative. That's very interesting. Cool. Yeah, it's cool. Wow. It's cool. Yeah.
That's a much more menacing
I like that.
look.
You like
That's
that?
what striping with SMPTE timecode
And
looks
that's
like.
there you have it.
It's been striped.
Yeah. All right.
Too much Richie's slush will do that to you as well.
Okay, so that's interesting. Okay, but back to reality. Basically, what I did was I set up an enormous sort of Rube Goldberg contraption in a high-tech sense, where the Macintosh that was driving my keyboards with all the sequencers was getting its clock from the videotape that had the video information on it, and then as the sequences were playing out into the house, I sang on top of them into a camera, which was then melded together with the stuff that we had on videotape, and that was all pumped out to the video monitors out in the house. So we had, on the one hand, where the group was playing as a group, we had the video set and the music improvised, and we had in my section the music set and the video being improvised, and then in between these two formats were the commercials like Death TV and other things that we'd done like Implants for Success and
Incidentally, I have no idea what that noise is.
Neither do I, but what's somebody filling with their
the
beer bottle.
interesting thing for, other than SMPTE timecodes, which I find fascinating.
I'm sure you do.
Are the idea that you're trying to blur live performance, and how do you pull off multimedia in a live environment? You know, we had like 20 TVs. I mean, how do you get people that are already video blitzed? Think about the video really having something to do with the music. You know, MTV kind of covers it in a superficial sort of way, but we're trying to dig deep into visuals and audio and how they relate to each other, and we're actually working on a group of solo projects right now where each of us will take our individual talents and put them together into an entity that we'll produce on CD-ROM. You know, but how do you do that in a live environment? You know, and that's what the challenge Frank is talking about. He's singing into a camera that's got video backdrops. Then we're all playing to you know, to these horror films, and so there's a lot of different things we're trying to do to sort of juggle the idea of live performance. You know, it's not just a band standing there playing anymore. We're trying to deliver a total experience.
Right. So
now, we are unfortunately very swiftly running out of time, but I do want to get to at least one more roll-in if we can.
Okay, we probably ought to roll Serpent Desire then, which is the last tape. If we're, how much time we got? 5 minutes, right?
Yeah,
we ought to roll Serpent Desire, because that's actually from the live show, and that way we have a little bit of each.
If we can go forward a couple, Tony, did you have the
It's the bottom one.
Bottom one.
It's the bottom one.
It's the bottom. Those of you at home, it's the bottom one.
And we'll put up our address where people can write and send dirty notes and over email. I found your internet address on a bathroom wall the other day. I meant to tell you.
That's good. I've been looking for it.
For a good time call, I
hadn't found it. I'm glad you found it.
Let's go to that roll-in. It's Serpent
Desire.
This is one of my songs.
Serpent Desire?
Serpent Desire.
Desire.
The last one, Tony.
Yeah.
And for those of you at home.
This is actually from our live show.
What it is you're doing.
A little excerpt.
Or we can go to the roll-in. Okay. Tell us what we're going to see here. A dimension of sound. What is the noise? Can they hear that at home?
A dimension of sound. 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 A dimension of light. A dimension of light. A dimension of sound. A dimension of sound. A dimension of mind. A dimension of sound.
took a puff of a cigarette at a PTA meeting a few years ago and saw that. We're back with our guests, Frank and John, and unfortunately time has been an express train, if you'll, if you'll allow a metaphor. But we would like to have you back, because we have several other roll-ins and much more to discuss.
Yeah, that wasn't
here.
Serpent Desire after all. That was another thing. That was Dimension of Sound.
Tell us a little bit about that.
It was a left-handed tribute to Rod Serling and the Twilight Zone. I did the entire video with 2 VCRs and a PC in 30 hours, top to bottom, from conception through storyboard to final product. Done. It's in the can. So that's the thing about technology, is that it allows you to find proof of concept really quickly. You know, you come up with an idea, you can do it really, really accurately, really quickly. But at the same time, while we use computers, the things that we do are not about computers. It's not like painting a painting of a paintbrush. You know. So it's profound. Well, I thought so. I thought about that all the way over on the drive over, especially as I was mowing down those people on 128. All right, anyway.
Well, we have enjoyed some of these images, and we'd like very much to have you gentlemen back.
Thank you.
Apparently, just very informally, we've discussed next week, I guess. So
yeah, sure.
That's a possibility for all of us.
There's lots of other stuff that we want to talk about, like inventing new instruments and stuff that we're doing with gesture music and graphics and stuff.
We'll just start where we left off.
I wanted to tell you thank you. I always wanted to be on Fernwood, and it's been a real
our pleasure. I'm sorry that other...
Where is Martin anyway?
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm sorry that you couldn't meet him. He had to go away. He had some other commitments.
But we look forward to seeing you again.
Very good, as we do you.
Thank you.
You've been watching Newton Weekly Review. Is that still the name of the show, or are we changing it?
No, still the name.
Newton Weekly Review. And as always, want to thank you for your patience, as we always like to tell you.
And your doctors.
Thank you.
Yes. The whole 9 yards.
Hey, come back with that TV.
Have a safe Halloween, and if you can, please get down to Mass General Hospital, correct? Once again? For the blood drive.
Blood.
Yes, indeed.
Good night.
Join us again next week with our regularly scheduled program. And remember, never be negative. Always drink on positive. Good evening. Working in my bed late last night, my eyes beheld sight. Late from my slab began to rise. Vocal group, the Dave Krieger Five. Now everyone at Newton Coleman was having fun. Until Jay reached out and touched Laurie's bum. She thought that Mr. Wynn was the guy, so she punched poor Stewart in the eye. No Master Mash. Stewart can mash. The Monster Mash. Albert and Les joined the camera crew. Obviously these people have nothing better to do. Marjorie was in a quiet mode till she got a jolt from Dan's electrode. Now she can mash. Now she can... Of interest in your town are discussed, and local area talent will perform live. Current events are remotely videotaped to bring you visual presentations right into the comfort of your own living room. And now, here's tonight's host.
Good evening and welcome to Newton Weekly Review, the show that, as Jay once said, is always in flux. I am your constant, however. Please keep staring at me, because I am here. Lisa is off this week. She'll be back next week, and then she's off to Chile. The world is a strange and sometimes meaningless place, but we're going to forge ahead anyway. I'm lucky to be here tonight, not just happy, but lucky, because I was hitchhiking to this fine production this evening. I finally got a ride with a gentleman who had a God is my co-pilot bumper sticker, and we'd almost arrived here at the studio when he drove off the road and ran into a tree. Apparently he'd become agnostic, so you see. God was no longer his co-pilot. Thank you. Thank you very much. People rolling all over their carpets in Newton. I am joined this evening by my guests from last week. As I said, Lisa is not here, but I am joined by John Chmaj to my immediate left and Frank Coleman of 21st Century Art. Good evening, gentlemen. Nice to have you on the show once again.
Nice to be me.
Thank you.
And
hello, America.
let's just start the proceedings because it's been a barrel of fun already. We're running, we are on the air a few minutes late, which is just reminds you that it is local access. It's one of the fair beauties of
We were
local
tied up in
access.
traffic on the info highway.
Yes.
We weren't going to blame it on you, actually, because we'd had some rare technical difficulties. But if we can, you know, slough off the blame on you all the
God
better.
is my
So,
technical director.
yes,
That's right.
absolutely.
That's right.
We all run a little late, even His Holiness. So,
Right. So anyway,
welcome
you.
to the show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be back.
When we had you on last week, we were discussing what it is you do, and God forbid if someone hadn't seen the show last week, but maybe we should just first start by talking again briefly about what it is you gentlemen do.
21st Century Art is a group of musicians, artists, technologists, people that are literate in more than one discipline, people that are able to use technology to create new art. And that's the fundamental idea of 21st Century Art, is to create new art and new content, and use technology to drive new ideas as opposed to vice versa.
But at the same time, the art that's created is not about technology per se. We're trying to create something that has a humanistic edge to it as opposed to something that's just about the tools that we're using. So.
Yeah, so that's what 21st Century Art is. We played a few video clips last week to give you an idea of what we're about. We brought some more fun and games for you this week.
Very shortly, we're going to
Yeah.
get into some of that stuff. Just for the folks at home who maybe didn't know everything about last week's show and what you had explained then, it's also music is a part of it. I know that you shun the term band, but
Right.
to a degree, there is what some people might consider a band in that you have organized music as a part of.
I'd say that
or
Organized or
improvised.
loosely organized music, or
Improvised,
somewhat
sure.
disorganized music. Yeah, it's there are varying degrees of improvisation within a given set of parameters to some things that we do, and then there are some things that are cast in stone, and we perform those. The idea was to try to create a group for which there was no existing model, that has some elements of a band or performing group, some elements of a software development company, some elements of an artist's co-op, where the membership is sort of fluid, people come and go, things like that. But something that when you put it all together, it doesn't really bear a resemblance to any of one of those things. If you were to try to define it in terms of any one of those things, you'd be missing the boat, at least partially.
And yet, many of the members of our group are accomplished musicians
Right.
and accomplished technologists. And I'd say that would be the common thread, if you have
Right.
to have one,
Right.
is that everybody in the group is either a monster on their instrument or a monster in some form of technology, or just a monster. We do have a few just
So now is
just
Godzilla part of your group?
Godzilla is actually a member emeritus. Godzilla, as you may or may not know, does not necessarily choose to show up for every gig.
That's,
Yeah.
I can
Right,
imagine
that's-
just
right.
getting him into
Right.
the building would be
Right.
a problem.
Getting
So-
him into the county actually
Yes.
takes some doing.
Absolutely. Well, without further ado, as more professional television shows would say, why don't we go to the first clip?
Yeah, this
I'm looking
introduces
all over
who
the
we
room
are.
here, but I'll look right at the
It's
camera.
just basically a bunch of headshots of all the different people in the group, just
Okay.
to give you an idea.
Headshots of head cases. Roll it.
There you go.
material is a video forward or introduction to the book of 21st century art. So tell me a little bit about the other gentlemen who aren't representing themselves here tonight. Who are those folks, other than their names, which we just saw?
Well, basically, everybody in the group is both a very senior person in the computer industry of one stripe or another, and also has long careers in the arts and entertainment industry. There's people who've worked for everybody from Lotus to IBM to Ryuichi Sakamoto, Killing Joke, Metallica, Guns N' Roses. One of our fellows, Tim Halley, who's our VP of production, just got off the road with U2. He was doing video walls for them.
Oh, is that right?
Over in Europe for their European tour. So the point is sort of like there's tons of artists and there's tons of technologists and there's tons of existing and established artists who are going to come to new media, but we're sort of starting off in new media. Right. We're a group of people who are both artists and technologists at the same time, even-handedly.
See, I think that's where you're going to see the first wave of what we consider to be art, come in, is where people are going to actually be using technology in a new way to break through new artistic ideas. And what that's going to require is people that are sort of able to see the potential of technology but also have some solid artistic thing to convey. Right. And so we're trying to create an environment where people can do that, where people can be literate in both disciplines and work together both collaboratively and within technology and art together to create new art. What we were saying earlier about what Frank was saying about art not being about technology is that a lot of the new technological ideas you'll see either are geared towards strict entertainment, flaming robots or giant dissolving Terminators or whatever. That tends to be driven by by the technology itself, as opposed to some sort of artistic thing that you're trying to convey.
Right.
Now, eventually, this will become commonplace, and I think 10 years from now, you'll find a lot of people that are literate in both disciplines. We sort of see ourselves as sort of the new generation of people that can convey content in both an artistic and technological way.
Right.
I think about, now, an example just for whatever reason that comes to mind is MTV, in 1981 or something. Is that around the synthesis of that?
That's about right, yeah.
The fact that about all we can attribute as a product of that at this point is the visual of Michael Jackson hitching up his pants and like a fur-lined guitar that ZZ Top holds in front of the camera. These are sort of the end results, and it is kind of sad in a way because there's so much that can be done in the video medium, and so many people are doing interesting things. But
well, the thing is that you have to draw a distinction between art and entertainment. See, the thing is that the reality is that we have an entertainment industry that is our conduit to deliver art to people, by and large, for the great masses.
Right.
But entertainment really doesn't have anything to do with art whatsoever. Entertainment has only to do with scratching people's itches, with just giving them what they want. A work of art is something that requires something of the viewer, that the viewer experiences something of themselves, or it strikes a chord within them. Right. Entertainment is just something that people just sit and passively observe. Art is something that enriches you, and you walk away from it enlightened in some way. And entertainment, you just
and
dull.
I didn't for a minute get fool myself into thinking that perhaps MTV was anything approaching the enlightening. But
no, but the lines blur a lot of the times.
Exactly.
And because that's the delivery method for the artistic experience, by and large, for a lot of people, is through television. And now with the burgeoning possibility of two-way television, there's all kinds of possibilities that are suggested with that. Of course, the big question is, what is this society that is both information and sensorially saturated yet culturally illiterate going to do when they have two-way television?
Right.
What are they going to say? Are they,
Well, we have a lot of interesting things we're going to try and say. We're interested in breaking down some of the barriers that already exist in terms of interactivity, and we're going to show you one of the little clips that we have that sort of blurs the line between who's the live performer and what's the sequenced material and what's the video and what's the live video, sort of mushes that all together. The idea of a concert having to be something that the audience doesn't participate in. Computer technology is going to make it possible for the audience to perhaps have some feedback on either the lighting or the music or both. Who's to say a concert has to take place in one place? Why can't it take place in 6 cities simultaneously, or take place on many levels of sound and light? So technology makes anything possible, frankly. But the challenge is to dream, and dream in such a way that you can use technology to convey a whole new vision. and not just to sort of saturate people's minds with the more is better mentality of MTV, where you're just getting hit with as many images as possible.
Exactly.
And it's up to you to figure out the content half the time.
And it's vapid after everything is said and done. Really.
Right,
I mean, not that some of those artists aren't trying. I mean, someone like Peter Gabriel at least challenged, you know, the norm, you know, and that was kind of interesting with some of his videos as well as his music. But
I suppose we ought to probably roll a little clip of some example. I sometimes feel like we are purveyors of futuristic cave paintings, and that we're in sort of a paleo cyberlithic age. It's sort of like the dawn of
I'm leaving now.
I'm going for the dictionary right now.
This is an example.
All you paleo cyberlists out there, we don't have anything against you.
Yeah.
Paleo cyberlists.
How very mellifluous
what I mean is that we're at the start of a new age where ultimately the result will be that technology is our gateway to experiences that are deeply human.
That's right.
Okay.
And we're just at the very bare beginning of that age.
This next clip will be...
This is a prehistoric cave drawing here.
Okay.
This is a video that we did live at a performance that we did. The interesting thing about it, if there's anything interesting at all, is that the video is actually improvised. I'm actually singing into the camera.
Okay.
And it's being intermingled together with additional graphics and through various
And this was at the Middle East in Cambridge?
Right.
Yeah, it's all being, the computers are actually being driven by the videotape. And so,
yeah, the interesting thing is that Frank is singing live to a video camera, so his voice is live. On the tape, it's not live, but in the concert, his voice is live. His face is live, but superimposed to video and music that has been pre-sequenced. So it's a mix, and while it's going on, the people in the that are running the video are actually making live changes to his face, as you'll see, based on the performing environment. So there's a sense of the live and a sense of the pre-recorded, and where do those lines, where are they drawn? Who knows? Here comes Serpent Desire.
Enjoy.
The lights of a corridor bare, I stared in the night at an endless desire, and saw myself look at my face in the window. I followed the masses towards the pavilion. I sensed an electrical vibe in the air. I knew that no reason was reason at all. A million statistics, a million passers-by. Silence in the hurtling world above. In final confinement, each drop is the universe. And the hissing of steam pipes rages and seethes. Walked out in the middle of traffic, stark naked. Staring into that glassy fountain, the hard edges of the day rub the corners of my eyes, wet and dry at the same time. The memory lingers. I can still feel you on my fingers. But the moment's as real as the air it's made of. the darkness, my friends will surround me with the flickering candles in everyone's hand. And they'll stand close beside me and nod and say yes then. And we'll all understand and not say a word.
That was 21st Century Art
Yeah.
performing Serpent Desire?
Serpent Desire, yeah. It's a-
Somewhat live at the Middle East.
Very nice.
That was Frank's original composition, Serpent Desire, and that's Frank performing. One of the things I wanted to mention that really kind of shows you is Frank was able to do that all essentially with the kind of equipment any consumer could have, and that's, you know, technology's made it possible for people to get really high-end effects, real high-end entertainment or artistic tools in their hands, and that's why we think it's going to really spawn a real exciting generation of work.
Right. And it was quite interesting. I saw it the other week for the first time, and I was quite taken.
Thank you. Thank
Very
you.
nicely done.
Thank
Tell
you.
us about the next piece. We want to bring on a...
I'd like to introduce this
Go
next
ahead,
piece.
yeah, sure.
Frank has worked out the visuals, and I've done the scripting for this next piece of work. This is some new actually high-tech religious equipment that we've designed. We actually are realizing that with the great gifts of technology, the bounties of technology, that we really want to deliver as much as we can in the way of spiritual and otherwise enlightenment to the crowds and the people out there. So we've designed a whole product line that may be up your alley or up your mantra. Here comes high-tech religious equipment.
Discount House of Worship, your #1 source for the latest in high-tech religious equipment, announces our new Fall of Civilization line. Tired of waiting for that special moment of inspiration? Zoom straight to the gates of heaven with our new Virtual Jesus Rocket Cross. Our simple single rocket design gives you maximum power without complicated steering instructions. Navigation's not necessary when you won't be coming back. Feel the power of God pulse through your fingers with our new Radium Rosary, skin tweezers not included. Just arrived, celibate blow-up dolls with no orifices for the pure in heart. After all, if you gave it the orifice, you need not give it home. Little joke there. Cobalt condoms also available for complete coitus interruptus, void where prohibited by natural law. Do that voodoo that you do so well with our high-speed interactive voodoo doll, needles and patch cord sold separately. You'll find one free inside every box of Crowley Krispies, the illuminating snack treat. Got an appointment in Samara during a last-minute oil embargo? Try our new auto-flagellator for the Muslim on the move. Big list of prayers to do? Try our new teleprayer database. Send the prayer of your choice to over 14 million registered people over electronic and paper mail. Advanced database query features let you choose your audience from categories such as known sinners, unwashed masses, also high guilt profiles, and solid cash givers. Prayer catalogs available in OT, NT, Kabbalah, Quran, Mantra, and televangelist versions, Dalai Lama not included. And wait till you see our home temple props. For those long sabbaticals, be sure to bring along the Pocket Buddha Buddy, complete with built-in fax modem. And finally, are you frustrated by secular virtual reality? Here's the VR for you, the 3D Requiem Resurrection Shroud. Relax in comfort beneath industrial-strength fiber-optic flannel as you review your sins, pass purgatory, talk trash with the devil, and emerge to a new, better reality. Grace of God mode simulates interaction with Ultimate Being without the normal inhibitions of blindness, shame, and immobility. Complete with death stench perfume, dig it quick burial kit, and a year's supply of morphine to give that total effect of annihilation. See store for details. Discount House of Worship, where even heresies have their heretics.
The Discount House of Worship. Once again, 21st Century Art. And I have to say that I'm a big fan of both comedy and parody, of the parody format, and that has all the production value of one of the Saturday Night Live ads, etc. I don't mean to schmooze over it, but I was immediately smitten by that.
Yeah, so was God apparently, because we've been getting letters.
Is that right?
But that's, you know. That's the nature of the business.
It was very nicely done. Now, you did the voiceover, but did you write the script?
I wrote the script.
Is that correct?
Yeah, I did the images all on a Macintosh and spooled the whole thing out to videotape. So again, it's desktop video production.
And so this is what you gentlemen are doing with your free time. Is that what I'm done?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, well, we obviously have too much of it.
we sort of have we sort of go at everything, be it improvising film scores or making phony commercials or doing music videos with a sort of warped inquisitiveness, I guess. We sort of tinker at things. It's the mad scientist syndrome, I guess. And I think probably the hallmark of this group is that we're going to really kind of get involved with lots and lots of different things, and just basically explore something that's of interest to us until we're done with it and then move on. Right. And we're working on developing our own instruments that actually convert gesture to both graphics and music in real time. We're working on our own CD-ROM. We're working on conventional video and audio stuff. We're working on new material. I've got more solo stuff. We're doing stuff with other subsections of the group, duets and trios and things like that. So it's a whole stew. It's a whole melange of different things. It isn't any one thing. So I guess it's a...
But we're trying to find all the places where we can create new experiences or try new things.
That's fantastic.
You know, and some old things too. I mean, who's to say you can't make virtual reality into Shakespeare? You know.
Yeah, or take existing or previously abandoned technology and create something new out of it. Something new and refreshing out of it.
One of the things that we're working on right now, to get into our last little piece we brought over to show you, is to give you an idea of how cheap this stuff is, the program that creates these fractals that you're about to see is a public domain program. You can get it for free. Anybody can get it. Anybody can play with it.
Okay.
It's one of these technologies that people have passed by. Everybody's seen the stuff, but it's no longer necessarily so fashionable. But you could do a lot with it. And what we've done is stream it out and run all kinds of color cycles through it, and we play music to it.
Tell you what, we are swiftly running out of time, but we have enough time to run a minute or two. Will that make sense for our viewers?
Yeah.
Why don't we go to that final roll-in, and then we'll wrap it up.
Okie doke.
21st century.